mill raise, plus Ann, Vera, and Jamie. Ann had asked for a meeting with the people on the mill raise, and they wouldn't talk to her about it. So after the first of the year, we will be sitting down, we will be talking about it, and seeing if we can come to a solution. And that's the best I can do, Jeannie, at this point. Thank you for your comments.
I do want to add that I did pass on that your letter to the Clinton River Watershed Council, Ann Var. She said she'd be more than glad to meet with you and talk with you. I think some people are being disingenuous when they say that the Clinton River Watershed Council hasn't tried to work with the residents. Quite the opposite is true, and I'm going to leave it at that. But they are committed to working with the residents. And I'm going to leave it at that.
Jan?
I have visual aids, as usual.
Thank you.
Jan, do you have one more for Ingrid? Sir.
Jan Olson, 4190 Oregon Road. I'd like to present some documents to you. First is the quitclaim deed for the dam, and I highlighted the part that says this is the deed that was given, that was put forth by your attorney for the township to obtain the dam. And I highlighted the part that says including the benefits and rights and easements for the operation of the dam, including water privileges, mill race rights, and dam. So you own the mill race rights. But that mill race is filled in at that headwaters. And this is dated August 5th, 2009. Then I've included an Oakland County map, a photographic map that shows what the township owns. And you'll see that the gates to the slough of the mill race belongs to the township. That's on your access property that you allowed to have filled in. And through the Freedom of Information Act, I asked the township if they had a letter of permission, giving permission to fill that in. No. Then you're going to see through the Freedom of Information Act, this is an email from an engineer at HRC dated Wednesday, October 5th, when the dam was coming down on Monday, October 3rd, a revision for the permit, and it's the same permit number that came with our packets, and it's on the tree down there. And it has a cover copy to Ann Vera, Jamie Burton, and Jeremy Geis. And it says it has a mill race section drawing that comes with it. We are proposing to replace the material from the Oakland Dam in the abandoned channel, that's the head race, upstream of the raceway on Nightingale's property. Please see the attached plain view and cross-section. Water will be diverted to the mill race through a pipe. An estimated 750 cubic yards of earthen dam will be placed in the abandoned channel. The remaining 450 cubic yards will be placed in the disposal area. The next document is the original notice of the public meeting, and I highlighted the number so that you see it's the same number. That's the number on the tree down there. This is the drawing that came with that email to have the revision of the permit. And I highlighted the three parts that says proposed fill, proposed fill, proposed fill. And then the part that says install a raceway. And I've highlighted the date on it and a little blow up I've made for you that shows the date March 2011. Cane Creek Habitat Restoration. An email about the access agreement with the neighbor about it, and that his property will have a separate agreement. A map that shows you a little bit more of a plain view of what we're looking at, and another map. I'd like a response.
Jan, I have just responded a little bit ago. We are going to set up a meeting after the first of the year. I had no time up until that point to have a meeting with Jamie.
And you still believe that we have turned down the watershed for a meeting? You still believe that? I sent you the emails from Mr. Creech asking us to come to the table, just asking me, not the rest of the neighborhood. I've never received anything from the Clinton River watershed.
Okay, I'm not saying she wrote you a letter asking for a meeting. Why don't you wait till I set the meeting up, come to the meeting and ask Ann? She'll be there.
But you're still
Willing to
claiming
meet with
that
you.
we've refused to meet with the Clinton River watershed when we've never gotten any letter, any
I'm not saying
email,
she invited
phone
you by
call.
letter, Jan. I don't know
How'd
how
she
she
invite
talked
us?
to you. I don't know how she
I
asked.
haven't talked to her since the meeting here in March of 2011. That's the
Okay,
last time I had a
okay.
verbal expression with her.
Okay, I'm telling you, we're going to have a meeting after the first of the year. You can ask her your questions at that point.
The question to you, Joan, is how do you not believe that we have not been contacted by her?
I'm not saying that, Jan. I'm not calling you a liar.
You
and I'm
refuse
not
to
calling
meet.
Ann a liar. Okay?
I'm telling you,
Let's
we,
set up a meeting so we can sit down and discuss it.
but we've never had this conversation
Okay,
with the
that's
watershed.
fine. Then I believe you, Jan. If you say you didn't, you didn't.
Well, I
Thank
hope
you.
you do now.
Thank you. Anybody else? Citizens, Greg?
Greg Olson at 4190 Orion Road. I just want to read just number 4 of the access agreement. It says the dam shall be removed in a manner that will preserve the historical significance and marker for the mill race, including maintaining flows that are necessary for this. She said from the very beginning, or to say the watershed said from the very beginning, if they can't make it flow, they abandon the project. I think it's time to let her go, let her abandon this project and get somebody in here that's competent. And she's got to quit blaming the residents for all her incompetence. We have nothing to do with anything other than trying to save water in that mill race. And that's it.
Thank you, Greg, for your comments. Anyone else? Moving right along, Older Persons Commission. Mr. Dalton? You identify yourself, please?
Sure. John Dalton, 2602 New England Drive, Rochester Hills, Michigan. Good evening, Supervisor Fogler and trustees. Back in 1983, the governing boards of Avon Township and the city of Rochester entered into an interlocal agreement to form what today is the Older Person Commission, commonly known as OPC. This decision was made light years ahead of what we are experiencing today with cities and townships consolidating services. At the time of OPC's inception, it is evident that the elected bodies of Avon Township and the city of Rochester intended to ensure that this newly created entity would stand independently and function on its own and not under the direct control of either Avon Township or the city of Rochester. To ensure this, the interlocal agreement created a governing board to govern and direct and manage its operation and growth. The agreement stipulated that the governing board would be made up of both elected officials and citizens for both communities. In 1985, the Township of Oakland officially became a partner in this venture, at which time they were granted representation on the governing board. Over the years, a millage has been passed and renewed, providing OPC with a separate and independent source of funding. For the past 27 years, a statutory required yearly audit has been conducted, and each time we have received what I would call a clean bill of health. No deficiencies or improprieties have ever been identified or reported. Today, the OPC facility has become a premier, nationally recognized senior center that provides its services to our residents over the age of 50. To give you a couple of examples of the impact it has on our citizens, in 2010, we prepared and distributed over 120,000 meals through our Meals on Wheels program. And our transportation department provided tens of thousands of trips for our seniors. Back in 2008, the OPC Governing Board was preparing its 2009 budget. We were ahead of the curve and foresaw what we perceived to be a diminishing economy. To compensate for this perceived diminished revenues, we started taking steps to cut our operating expenses. These steps included, but were not limited to, cutting staff, delaying major purchases and improvement, freezing wages, and attempting to increase various fundraising activities. In preparing our 2010 and 2011 budgets, as our revenues diminished, we continued the above actions while ensuring that no programs were ever cut, nor were any of the user fees ever increased. At the end of 2010, in large part due to our dedication and commitment of our staff and our success at various fundraisers, where the staff was able to raise over $60,000, we were able to increase our fund balance by approximately $200,000. This past spring, as we were preparing our 2012 annual budget, we looked at their anticipated millage revenue and various other sources of funding. In reviewing our anticipated expenses, we came to staff expenses. It was decided rather than go a fourth year with no increases, we would provide a 1% salary increase and would reinstitute the step increases for the employees who were not at top pay within their classification. An increase was also made in our payments in lieu of medical insurance. The final budget, which was a balanced budget and did not use any fund balance, was presented to the governing board and passed with a 5-2 vote. The governing board budget was then forwarded to the city of Rochester Hills, Rochester, and Oakland Township as required by the existing interlocal agreement. Both the city of Rochester Hills and the Township of Oakland approved our budget. However, at a city council meeting in October, where the budget was presented for their approval, the item was tabled after much discussion regarding the proposed salary increases and payment in lieu of insurance. It was a consensus of the majority of the council members that the city of Rochester was not granting pay raises in their 2012 budget, and OPC likewise should not grant any pay raises. I would also like to point out that just prior to considering OPC's budget, they unanimously approved RARA's budget, which required over $70,000 of fund balance to balance the budget. After this meeting, they requested clarification on a couple of items. We responded to their request by supplying them with the information they requested. It should be noted that the bottom line remained the same. However, after they received the requested information, they now possess that we submitted a second budget to them. Our existing interlocal agreement requires the city of Rochester, Rochester Hills, and Oakland Township to approve the submitted budget by November 1st each year. However, after this date, the city of Rochester refused to approve the operating budget and subsequently prepared a revised budget that you have been asked to approve. Tonight, as you consider that request, I respectfully request that you take into consideration the intent of the elected officials at the time of OPC's inception. They created a governing board to govern the operation of OPC. It was not their intent to have OPC subservient to any one of the three entities. If Rochester Hills' request is approved, we will be starting down a slippery slope that would destroy OPC